Hi, my name is Indigo. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you're new here. In today's video, I'm going to talk about a lesson that has been very loud, recurring so far in my 20s. This is not a brand new idea. I've honestly encountered this before, but I really just had like a light bulb coming on moment the other day. So in my journal, I've always been told to consider others' perspectives. Does anyone ever consider mine? Considering others' perspectives has benefits, but what does it really accomplish if someone's behavior is harmful or draining? Understanding does not require toleration. And that sentence, that was like the light bulb moment. We all have trauma, beliefs, a childhood, etc. I have power in my life. I have agency. I do not have to accept everything or anything on the premise of understanding someone's perspective. I'm not always right, but I'm not always wrong. And I've been saying I'm not always right, but I'm not always wrong for the longest. And by that, I mean, I don't know everything. No one knows everything. There's always more information to be revealed in any situation, especially, in relationships. Every kind of relationship, professional, personal, platonic, romantic, whatever. You can only view situations through your lens, the lens of your lived experience. And that goes for everyone. You're not always right about everything, but you're not always wrong. Now, some context. This is not a unique experience, especially in childhood. So growing up, the adults in my life often invalidated my experiences. They often denied my reality. If I tried to talk to certain adults, their instinct was from a place of, I know better than you because you're a child and I'm an adult. They already know what they're going to say without even listening to what I'm saying. They would blame everyone else's behavior on me. If Billy or Sarah at school said something to me or mistreated me, it must have been because I did something or I didn't do something, or I said something or didn't say something, like, no matter what. Their air conditioner's on now, so I'm gonna just use this mic until it goes back off. If I was sad about something or upset about something, I must have been looking at it from the wrong perspective because I don't know anything. I'm a child. And as I've gotten older, I'm 27, I have come to attribute this to the inability or lack of awareness or unwillingness to meet me where I was as a child while they were adults. That's not a unique experience, especially in the Black community. Adults tend to hold children to a higher standard than they hold themselves. For example, people will lash out at children, hit them, talk to them, all kinds of crazy. But if a child even breathes wrong in front of them, it's over. And the child is the one with, the brain that's not fully developed, who does not have the tools to regulate or understand their emotions due to the whatever is preventing them from meeting me where I am as a child. There was this tendency to trivialize my experiences because they've already been through that before. But to me, that's as big as my world had ever been. That was the first time I'd ever encountered whatever emotions, feelings, whatever. And this creates a sense of distrust in oneself. This gave me anxiety. This caused me to not be sure of myself. I still have their voices in my head every single day to this day. We call this the inner critic. I'm always blaming myself for everything. The inner critic is doing that. My real voice, my second thought, remembers that other people's behavior says more about them than it does about you. And if you've read The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, he explains why you should never take anything personally, because everyone is caught up in their own emotional storm, their own internal monologue. Everyone's viewing everything through the lens of their lived experience. People's behavior is about them. Not to say that you don't do anything wrong, but when it comes to people mistreating you, that's about them. I'm also the youngest in my family. I'm the youngest in my household. I was the youngest in the family until I was about 9 years old out of my cousins, but that's a long time, right? I was raised to always consider other people's perspectives. It got to a point where it felt like, well, no one is ever considering mine, especially, as a young person as a girl, no one was ever considering my perspective. Not people in authority positions, managers at work, teachers at school, even my peers. It didn't seem like anyone was ever considering how Indigo was feeling, how what they say or do affects me. I didn't have a victim complex. That's not what I'm saying. But there's definitely a pattern. And I think that's part of what made me a people pleaser. Always walking on eggshells, always trying to predict the moods of others and putting myself and my needs last. Like, I didn't just become a people pleaser out of nowhere. I'm pretty sure I know who taught me people pleasing. So there must be a balance. Like, okay, we're not gonna practice black and white thinking. We're going to acknowledge that everyone has their own reality, everyone's perspective exists, but we don't have to tolerate everything. At some point, you just have to trust yourself. You've seen enough. You've experienced enough. Your experience matters. It's your life. So I'm 27 now, and up until this point in my 20s, that's just been a very important lesson. Learning how to listen to myself, trust myself, validate my own experiences, and not seek that elsewhere. Especially as women, we are socialized to hold space, to understand, to be considerate. At some point, enough has to be enough. You can understand somebody up and down till the cows come home, but if their behavior is draining, if it is negatively impacting you, you're allowed to say no more. That does not make you a bad person. The biggest takeaway from this video is to take your power back, to realize that you have agency, that you do not have to tolerate everything from everyone just because you're understanding. You are doing yourself a disservice every time you do that. You're not always right, but you're not always wrong. I have like so many more like reparenting, unlearning lessons and videos, messages to share. So I'm gonna make this a series. Thank you so much for watching. And as usual, I will see you in the next video.